Daniel, it's good to talk to you again. I understand you're in Wilcox, Arizona, I think you said, and you're still campaigning.
Yes, I did.
You're still campaigning to be president, are you?
Yes, sir.
You're not giving up.
No, the race ain't over till about November 4th or 10th or whenever they finish counting the ballots.
Well, that's good. Do you have the tenacity there? I definitely respect that. I understand that. I mean, we reported on our website not that long ago that you apparently got yourself arrested. What happened there?
Well, if you saw the video, there's about I guess it's about 12 by 16-inch styrofoam placard I have with basically the information I have on business cards that I hand out. And I had tied a little rope around it to hang around my neck to kind of wear while I was traveling the streets of Washington, D.C. And I went in to watch see the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution in the National Archives building. So they told me I couldn't wear it in because I was soliciting. So I asked, one of the guards did. Then I asked the other guards, a couple of them, and asked them what their definition for soliciting was. And it was handing out the information or selling products or asking for money. And I wasn't doing any of that. So they come out later with a paper, and then they're telling me I'm demonstrating or protesting. So I asked them for the definition of a demonstrator or protester, and then they followed that up a little bit later with the Washington, D.C. police.
Huh.
Then they tell me that the government has all the rights, private citizens, that they can deny anybody access to a government building for whatever reason they want. And I told them they were wrong and that the government doesn't have any rights. So they told me I was going to have to leave, and I told them they were going to have to haul me off. So one of the police tell me that they're going to have to take me to the hospital, and that goes on. And one of the officers is claiming that I assaulted him. I elbowed him in the chest, and if I did, one of the police officers was controlling my elbow because there was one with two hands on one arm and another one with two hands on the other arm. So they wrestled me to the ground, and then when they take me to jail, I find out they arrested me for assaulting a police officer and had nothing to do with the supposed solicitation and nothing to do with the supposed protesting or demonstrating, nothing to do with disorderly conduct, nothing to do with resisting arrest. And they asked me they read me my rights and wanted to know if I wanted an attorney present. I asked them if I tell them I'm not going to answer any of their questions and tell them to get an attorney present. And they do this for 4 days. And no attorney.
Wow.
And so I'm finding out that in the United States that there generally aren't any rights for the citizens except for whatever the police or the courts decide they want to give them. So essentially, in D.C., I was accused of a crime, that of assaulting a police officer, which had nothing to do with why they were called there in the first place. They took me to jail and denied me my attorney. They took me to court, and the court told me I had to answer their questions without an attorney present, or I would be found in contempt of court. And then they basically send me on my way without ever dismissing the case, without dropping the charges. And then this arrest stays on my record. They didn't even set a trial. They didn't allow me to plead guilty or not guilty. So now, if I'm pulled over by the police and they run my plate and find my name, the first thing that's going to come up on their record is assaulted a police officer. Now, if you were a police officer and you saw that come up, how would you approach the vehicle?
I'd have my gun out.
Correct. Now, if you're an employer and you see assault a police officer on the arrest report, what would you do?
I would hire somebody else.
Correct. So in essence, they have charged me with a crime, sentenced me to a punishment, and I have never been given a trial to defend myself. And they denied me an attorney.
Wow.
So you tell me if that's the United States that you remember hearing about.
No, frankly, it isn't, and it makes me wonder if you're still interested in running to be president, given what's happened to you.
Even more so. The reason being that the United States of America is more than the corrupt politicians and the corrupt system that we have now. The United States of America is the dream that's presented in the Declaration of Independence. The fortunate or unfortunate aspect of that is, in my lengthy interview with my potential employers of the United States of America, which is the people, right now I'm kind of mixed on that. Because whenever I apply for a job, I interview the potential employer as much as I expect them to interview me.
Right.
And unfortunately, the people of the United States who are supposed to be my employer are doing very little interviewing. So that in itself is discouraging.
Indeed.
But go ahead.
I was going to ask you, I mean, does this criminal charge, does that disqualify you from being elected president? How does that work exactly?
No, they could charge me with murder, but as long as there's never a trial and anything else, then there's no conviction. The whole disqualification is if you've been convicted of a felony. And obviously, assaulting a police officer is not even a crime because they didn't even set a trial for it.
Right.
So, I mean, this is by their actions and their words, not so much what is written in law. Because if it were truly a crime, they would have allowed me to plead guilty or innocent. They would have allowed me an attorney, and they would have allowed me a court date. But they've done none of that.
To play a bit of a devil's advocate, Daniel, I mean, you could have left the building when you were asked to originally with the sign, and perhaps none of this would have happened. Why did you not decide to leave when first asked by security?
Well, because they refused to answer questions, and all I was doing was asking them questions as to why I was supposed to leave, and they couldn't answer the questions, which meant they had no authority to ask me to leave. And the government is not allowed to discriminate against anybody for any reason unless that person is actually committing a crime. And I was not committing any crime based on their actions. Because if I was soliciting, because at first they accused me of soliciting, and I'm guessing that they went in to look for paperwork because they did bring paperwork out, and then they accused me, instead of bringing the definition of solicitation out, they brought out another paperwork and accused me of protesting and demonstrating. And then instead of bringing the definition of protesting or demonstrating out, they called the police and told them I was disturbing the peace or disorderly conduct. And if asking a person in charge if they have authority to do what they're doing, if that's disorderly conduct, I encourage the entire United States to get disorderly. Because the way my parents taught me and everything else, that I'm supposed to obey authority, but if that authority is stepping out of its bounds, I am also supposed to question that authority. And that's exactly what I did. My parents never told me I had to trust them and everything else, or I even had to obey them. I thought that they were telling me wrong, but they did tell me I had to be prepared to pay the consequences. And I paid the consequences. I spent time in jail and found out just how corrupt our system is.